It is Indiana in the Morning. It is presented, as always, by First Commonwealth Bank here on AM 1160 WCCS and 101.1 FM. And he's Bob Pollock from the Extension Service with us this morning, as he always is on a Friday. And you can call and ask Bob your questions about your lawns and gardens and trees and plants and flowers and vegetables and all of those good things. Even pest control from time to time. 479-1160 or 349-WCCS. That's 349-9227. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you today?
I'm just great, thank you.
You're trying to adjust your voice to...
Nah, you go with what you got, and this is what I have, unfortunately. Hey, I was wondering, because it's getting to that time of the year, and it's getting warmer over the weekend here. Is the sap running yet?
Well, this kind of warming
I did see
up,
you running across the street,
yeah,
and I thought that just reminded me, there's a sap running.
Sap running. Yeah. That's good. Well, it could be. That's for sure.
It could start soon anyway.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get a warm up like that, and that could do it.
It's
especially after having below freezing temperatures, and then to warm up, and especially with sunshine, that could get some activity going, which is not necessarily a good thing this early.
Oh, is it early?
Yeah.
Really? Yeah. I thought it would be right about the time.
Because we're early.
See, I always time it toward Lent.
Yeah, it's still February. We have a long way to go yet.
Don't say that.
It'll go quickly. But there's still part of winter to be here.
Well, if the sap does start to run, does it stop again?
Yes, it can stop. Yeah, if we get colder temperatures again, it will slow down and stop flowing. And what we don't want to have happen is get plants out of dormancy.
Okay.
But this kind of weather patterns where you consistently have temperatures in the high 50s, even maybe into the 60s for 4, 5, 6 days in a row, that reduces the amount of hardiness a plant has. So then, if we turn around and the next week we're down in the 30s or below freezing, just those swings in temperatures can make plants more susceptible to injury.
Okay, where are we going to notice that the most? Shrubs?
Yeah, probably shrubs, although you could get, if we don't have any snow cover, then we could get some perennial plants that are starting to maybe shoot up some foliage or something. But buds on like fruit trees, shade trees, shrubbery, anything that would start to get enough warmth that would get plants moving, come out of dormancy, get the buds start to swell a little bit, lose hardiness, and then another cold snap. They're not ready for that. So the antifreeze, if we could think of it kind of like antifreeze, so when it's colder and below freezing, that antifreeze concentration is higher, and that's what really helps keep the cells from freezing. So we've got a mixture in there that is resistant to freezing, and when we can lose that, it gets diluted, let's say, as it gets warmer, and then if we have another cold snap, the plant doesn't have enough time to react to that, change that mixture, and be prepared for that. So then we can get buds damaged, or especially flower buds. Leaf buds are more hardy than flower buds, typically. So you can lose, so potential effects could be no bloom or not as good a bloom. Some get killed, some don't, or it can weaken those blooms.
You mentioned even on shade trees, that's a possibility?
Yeah, depending on how.
You could go through a whole season with no leaves?
Rarely do we get that happening.
Okay.
They're still they're hardy enough that they would almost have to be opening up. We'd have to be at the point in the season where those buds were opening, and we had a severe freeze that really damaged that tissue. In a lot of cases, it still comes out, but it might be deformed or may not develop completely.
Yeah. When we had so much wind over the course of this last week, and they were not just gusty winds; they were high sustained winds. A lot of trees let loose with some branches, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
So that's a good signal to know whether how much dead wood you might have in your trees.
Well,
and you maybe need to get some pruning done because you may have broken branches. Some of those branches could be hanging up in there, and then that potential hazard there either to drop on a person or property. So those kind of things should be attended to.
Well, it leads to the question, with an older tree, when it starts to drop some of those branches, is there a point at which you say, I need to bore into this darn tree and see if it's hollow or not? Or how do you determine if a tree is hollowing out and becoming a danger?
Sometimes you can look up in the tree, and of course this time of year it's easier to do that because we don't have all the foliage on there. So you might be able to look at the branches or look where branches attached to the main trunk, if there's cavities there or if it looks like there's decay. Sometimes we'll get knot holes or where there were branches that were broken off or came off naturally at some point, and there might be decay back into the branch. If the top of the tree has been damaged, and it could have been damaged by lightning strike or other damage, and there can be decay starting up near the crown of the tree in the main trunk. You might have animals living up there if you have
we could ask
squirrels.
Them.
Yeah, if you have squirrels and things that are denning in the main trunk of the tree.
Capture a squirrel, put a camera on it.
No, you can look at it and see if they're up there and they're not in a leaf nest. If they're living in a cavity in the tree, then you know there's decay in there, and that decay only gets worse because once you break the seal, so to speak, the bark and the trunk, and once you provide an opening inside, once you get through those defenses, then decay will occur. Moisture gets in there, snow gets in there, and then you get rot occurring. And so then that trunk can rot. Now, sometimes it is hard to tell. You might see just a hole from where a branch used to be and that didn't completely heal over, and there'll be a little decay there, but you don't know how far that's gone. So arborists do have tools that they can actually drill a hole, and it's a very, very tiny drill bit, and it's long, and they can actually hold that up against the tree and drill into the tree, and it's a resistograph. That's what it is. So actually the tension that it takes to drill into that tree, of course, the more sound the wood is, the tougher it is. And then when you get into areas where there might be decay and it's easier to go through, then that registers that on a little piece of graph paper that's in that machine, and they can print that out, and they can see whether there's weaknesses in there or whether it's hollow in the middle, and the severity of that damage, and then they can make an estimate of, what is the susceptibility here, the potential for that to fall down or be affected.
That was what I was wondering.
Yeah.
Is there a way to actually measure that? And it's interesting that they do it in that way.
And there's some other. That's not the only type of tool that they have. These aren't inexpensive tools, so not every arborist has one of those laying on the dashboard of their truck. They're a little bigger than that anyhow. But there are other ways that they can measure that with technology and things that are available today. There are several methods.
Sonar might be able to help them with that.
Yeah, sound waves, and yes. So there are a variety of several different types of tools that can be used to do that. And usually that's reserved for more prominent trees or more valuable trees or historic trees that we're really trying to preserve and need to be preserved, and they're in a location where we can do something about it. Those tend to be the ones that we check and make sure, or ones where the potential for harm or damage is higher, the risk is higher, so we want to make sure this tree is sound and able to stand there and not fall on a building.
We're getting toward the end of the segment here. Let's see if we can squeeze this caller in. Good morning.
Hi. I have discovered that I have a natural type instrument that's indicating my tree might be in trouble, one of my hemlocks, and it's a pileated woodpecker. Has been up there drilling drilling holes in it.
In fact, the dog's barking at it right now.
Oh yeah, I'll shut the phone off. But is that an indication that I ought to consider taking that tree down?
Well, possibly. Sometimes they will do that because they're defining their territory, but other times they are after insects for feeding, to feed on. So it depends on what they're doing there and how long they stay there. But that resonance can sometimes be, they'll peck on a tree to mark their territory, and then other times it's because they're actually digging in there because there are borers or other insects in there feeding on the tree that may be leading to its demise. But yes, that can be definitely a natural indication.
If it's coming back over and over again. It's already branded the tree as its own.
If they're doing multiple holes, and that could happen with ash trees right now especially, because of so many borers being in there feeding, they've got tons of, it's a smorgasbord usually where they can peck holes and get food.
Yeah. All right, there you go. He's Bob Pollock from the Extension Service. Thanks for the call, Dave. We appreciate that. It is Indiana in the Morning, presented by First Commonwealth Bank, and it's AM 1160 WCCS 101.1 FM.